All right, today we're going to have a look at a Okamoto PSG 125. This is a 20 by 48 inch capacity machine. It's hydraulic. It's currently wired for 220 volts. It has a over-the-wheel dresser that can be adjusted very finely for the amount that it takes off the wheel each time. And as it goes back, it automatically advances the diamond, whatever amount you want it to advance, if you're ready for your next wheel. The machine does not automatically compensate for that. The operator would need to compensate for that. So you've got your chuck controller over here, the electrical box mounted here with all the electrical components and controls right out here in the front where they stay dry. It's pretty good. The hydraulic tank is mounted right behind the machine, and the coolant system is mounted behind the other side. So right now it's sitting in the park position, and if I was to, I've got the hydraulics running. I'll go ahead and start the grinding wheel. And we can start the table moving. I can stop the table. I have a piece of steel up here on the magnet. I'm going to turn the chuck on. That's clamped down tight, cannot move it. You can select here whether you're doing plunge grinding, slot grinding, or surface grinding, where you feed each time the column moves back and forth, and the slot or plunge grinding would be with the reversal of the longitudinal table. So I'm going to go ahead and start it again. This is a throttle lever to control the speed of the table. I have it set at the moment in the plunge, and in the plunge cycle, what it'll do is it'll feed down to 0. We'll see the hand wheel going, and we're going to switch it into the automatic cycle. So you see it feed there. Basically, each time this dog hits that switch is when it's going to feed. So you have to set that to correspond with your workpiece. So that'll just continue to feed like that at whatever setting you set your coarse feed at. And you also have a fine feed that'll come in once it gets to a certain spot on there. So there's also a cross feed cycle like this, where instead of feeding at each other reversal here, it'll feed at the back as well as at the front. At the end of the cycle, there's an automatic spark out. Depending on how many you've got your spark out switch set at, it will do that many passes without feeding once it gets down to 0. But before it gets to 0, it's going to get to the fine feed, which is just maybe one more feed or less than that before it gets to 0, which it switches over, and you control now with this fine feed valve. The cross feed, if we were using it right now and needed to make a fine adjustment, this actually has a fine adjustment knob, which is a nice option. Most of the machines don't come with that. That's the end of the cycle, and the machine comes to a rest. So that's the Okamoto. Let me show you quickly the cycle for the cross feed. Once I set that on the cross feed and this on cross feed, now we have the column or the wheel moving across our workpiece. You want to get your wheel off of 0, otherwise the cycle won't start. Put the back in automatic, and now each time we reverse, it feeds. Now in the manual mode, depending if you wanted to rapid the head up or rapid the head down, you can do that so long as you push this spring-loaded switch in the center of the hand wheel in. It'll disengage that hand wheel, and it also activates a micro switch that allows now you to use the rapid up and down as a safety. And the machine can be operated in and out by hand with the table by hand, but only if the hydraulics are turned off. As long as the hydraulics are off, there are clutches that deactivate both your cross feed and your longitudinal feed. So that's it. Dresser I can show you. Park it. Dresser is controlled by the same kind of switch here. You see it moving out now across the top of the grinding wheel. And now I'm going to go back. And when it gets back, it'll advance itself. And that's the dressing cycle. So, very nice machine, Okamoto PSG 125. Thank you.